When I send grading orders, I'm actually not looking for a 100% gem rate. I'm looking for a 70% gem rate. Now, that probably sounds a little bit strange. Like, why wouldn't someone want all of their cards to get the top grade? But in this video, I'm going to explain to you why I think 70% is the strong bar for success. And hopefully it'll influence the way that you actually look at your grading submissions and the types of cards that you're submitting yourself. So let's start by defining what does gem rate actually mean. So gem rate is simply the number of gem mint grades divided by the total number of cards you submit. So if you send 10 cards in, you get 9 gem mint grades. 9 divided by 10 is a 90% gem rate. If you send in 10 cards and you get 5 gem mint grades, 5 divided by 10 is a 50% gem rate. And so why 70% though? Well, what we know about the grading process is that there's human beings grading these cards. And while they're very, very, very good at what they do, they're still human beings at the end of the day. And that means there's going to be some variance from one grading order to the next. They might look at the same card 2 different days and judge it slightly differently. So when you hear in the card market people talking about, oh, I cracked this out of a 9 case and I sent it off and it came back a 10, or I cracked this out of one grading company and I sent it off to another grading company. That's because the more experienced crowd in this space understands that there is some human variance built into the grading process, and a different day could very well mean a different grade. And so because of this, we don't look at the grading scale as a black and white, is this card a 9 or is it a 10? I look at this more like a spectrum where there's some gray space in between. And so I'm always asking myself, not is it a 9 or is it a 10? I'm asking, what are the chances that this card gets a 10? And that's how I evaluate whether or not to submit a card myself. It's kind of like when you sign your name. You can sign your name 100 different times if you just pull up a piece of paper, and really no 2 examples of that signature are going to look completely identical. And so even though it's the same signature, you're the same person writing your name, you're doing it very closely every single time, but there's still going to be minor imperfections, just a little bit of variance from one signature to the next. So same concept here. They're still evaluating cards the same way every time, but there's just going to be a little bit of nuance every single time. And so that can be the difference between a 9 grade and a 10 grade. That's what we're looking for here. And so back to the original question, why the 70%? Well, 70% is what I found to be the perfect sweet spot between, taking enough chances on those borderline cards where you're giving yourself the at-bats to potentially have some of those borderline cards go your way, without going so far that you end up kind of wasting money and sending too many cards, taking too many chances on cards that don't actually have a strong enough shot at getting the gem mint grade that you're looking for. And so what I recommend doing is, if you don't do this already, track your historic gem rate. Track your all-time, how many cards have I submitted and how many have gotten the grade that I was looking for. And if you're sending older cards, I wouldn't include those. But if you're sending modern, ultra-modern cards where the gem mint grade is what we're ultimately looking for, that's when this data can get to be really valuable. And so what I look for is, if my gem rate starts to slide up a little bit higher and I'm getting these 85, 90, 95%, 100% every now and then grading orders, that's when I know that I'm probably a little bit too tight on the way that I'm evaluating cards, and I'm not taking enough chances on the borderline ones to give myself a chance for some of these cards to go my way. Now, on the flip side, if I see my gem rate sliding down from 70% and it drops to 60, 55, 50, 45%, that's when I know I'm probably spending too much money on cards that don't have a realistic chance at getting the grade that we're looking for. And so I want to tighten up my standards in that case. So depending on what side of 70% you're on, you can use this as a way to sort of tinker and tweak your approach to grading and use it to either loosen your standards or tighten your standards based on where you fall on the spectrum. Now, one of the biggest unlocks in all of grading is if you can just find higher upside cards to target, because that's going to give you an opportunity to make just as much or more money, even if you get a lower gem rate. And so one of the best things you can do for yourself, if you're someone who grades regularly, is look at the upside of these cards. Make sure that there is big upside where if you are getting the grade you're looking for, it is a big win. Don't waste your time on the little stuff. We want to see giant wins that'll more than make up for any 9s or any stuff that you buy that's not even worth submitting. So a little bonus tip for you there, but that's one of my favorite things to consider when I'm deciding what cards do I target. I want cards that I think have at least a realistic chance at a 10, and I want to see that big time upside, and that's how I know what to submit. So I hope this video has been helpful. Hopefully you can use this to kind of decide where you stand on your overall grading process. Now, if you like this type of content and you're looking for other ways that you can level up in the sports card world fast, I run a program where I teach my exact proven system. A lot of the stuff that we talk about is about grading and how you can leverage the grading process to create a side income in the sports card world. If that sounds at all interesting, I'll leave a link down in the description. But otherwise, guys, hope this has been valuable and we will see you on the next video.